Right now on Upfront.
The final sprint.
Let's go get them. Let's fire this up.
We can win this election. We just got to get out the vote.
Polls opening in less than 48 hours across Wisconsin. The battle for state Supreme Court. Hundreds of thousands already voting.
This is a really important race. Voters should be paying attention in Wisconsin.
Control of the court at stake. Record spending, big name endorsements, and it all comes down to this.
So much is at stake. We have to restore objectivity to this court right now.
This Sunday, Upfront on the campaign trail, behind the scenes, the final critical hours, and the closing arguments one-on-one from both Susan Crawford and Brad Schimmel. Then the president's order.
Proof of a thing called citizenship in the United States. Wouldn't that be nice?
The impact on elections here in Wisconsin. Now the state's elections chief Megan Wolf is here. Just hours until polls open. Is Wisconsin ready? And the huge spotlight on Milwaukee. Do you feel a lot of pressure in that going into Tuesday night? The city's top election official on how late it could go. And what to watch. Charles Franklin with your guide to Election Day as polls now set to open in just hours.
This is Upfront with Jaron Jordan and political director Matt Smith.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. 48 hours out, a campaign stop in Wisconsin today from Elon Musk, and Tuesday, it'll all be in the hands of Wisconsin voters. Hundreds of thousands already voting early, record spending, potentially a record turnout for a spring election. And this weekend, the candidates for Wisconsin Supreme Court, Susan Crawford and Brad Schimmel, in their final sprint.
But I need your help. Can I count on you guys to help?
This weekend, closing arguments.
Make sure that we get the vote out. Are y'all with me? Yeah!
Susan Crawford, Brad Schimmel, barnstorming the battleground. A state Supreme Court race in a league of its own.
This is a turnout race. We've got to get conservative voters out, and nobody's ever done that better than President Trump.
Schimmel, the conservative candidate and former Republican Attorney General, riding the recent endorsements from President Trump and Elon Musk, who's expected here tonight. Alongside the tens of millions pouring in from Musk's groups, some 20 million blanketing the state.
Someone who is willing to sell out to the highest bidder. No. You know what the choice is.
Crawford, the liberal candidate backed by Democrats, endorsed by former President Obama, hitting Elon Musk hard, a new test for Democrats nationally. Crawford outraising Schimmel with the backing of liberal donors like George Soros and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. $90 million plus, approaching $100 million. What do you make of what this race has become?
Well, this is the reality we're dealing with now, so we deal with the reality of what's on our plate. But my intent is to take a look at how things can change in the future so that we are not subject to $1 million lotteries by someone like Elon Musk. We can't surrender our court system to Elon Musk.
I mean, you're traveling the state. What are you seeing? What are you feeling?
People are pumped up. They're excited. We've seen great crowds. I think the enthusiasm is key. For us, we think that's really important.
Did I see you correctly that you got Elon to get the most involved in this? Was that your doing?
Well, a number of us. Keith Gilks, who used to be my campaign manager, is very much involved, runs his PAC. But we're thrilled.
The ground game ahead of Tuesday, massive.
I literally jump right into it. I say, I'm Azalea. I'm with Americans for Prosperity. We got an election coming up on April 1st.
The conservative group Americans for Prosperity, one of several with major field operations targeting key voters statewide. Some swing voters who may typically stay home on off-year elections, the Schimmel camp needing to mobilize. Democrats are bringing up Elon a lot. Are you hearing that on doors as well?
Similarly, when they're bringing up Elon, it's usually in connection with Trump.
Yep.
And again, it's just reminding voters that while that plays a part, we really need to remain focused on Wisconsin, our agenda, and also getting Brad Schimmel elected.
The state Democratic Party canvassing statewide in homes.
We got to out-organize them.
And on the ground. Democratic National Committee Vice Chair Jane Clabb in Milwaukee, underscoring the national implications coming off the major losses in November.
We have to stop comparing ourselves to the Republicans because we're never going to be that, right? We have people in dive bars and we have people in wine bars in our party. And both of them deserve equal voice. 100%. And so it's how are we doing that?
I'll send it to you.
Crawford wrapping up her 10-day statewide tour this weekend with us in Beloit. What is your closing argument as you're hitting the campaign trail these final days?
You know, it's really consistent with what I've been saying all along, Matt. It's about making sure that we have a Supreme Court that's fair and impartial and interpreting our laws to protect the rights of Wisconsinites. That's what I've always promised, is to be a fair, impartial, common sense justice on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. You know, the other choice is an extreme partisan, somebody who is selling out to special interests, has a long history of doing that, and you know, is now tied himself to Elon Musk.
I was going to say, I've heard you on the campaign trail go after Elon Musk pretty hard. Is that a strategy on your part in these final days?
Well, I just think it's important for voters to understand the truth and to know the facts about what's happening out there. This is really unprecedented, to have the richest man in the world wade into a state Supreme Court race and spend that kind of money. That's never happened before.
This race has exploded nationally. I don't have to tell you that.
Yeah.
When on your side, when you see people like Hakeem Jeffries come out and talk about the congressional maps and say they're gerrymandered and we need Susan Crawford in the court, what do you tell people who tie you to that?
Yeah, well, you know, people say all kinds of stuff, and I can't control what people say, and they pin a lot of hopes and dreams on, you know, potential future cases that don't exist yet. And what I've said all along is that any case that comes in front of the Wisconsin Supreme Court, I'll make a decision at the appropriate time after I know what the facts are based on the evidence, after I've heard what the attorney's legal arguments are, and on the Wisconsin Supreme Court after I've conferred with the other justices. I think that's a super important part of the process, and that's when I'll make a decision. I don't make hot takes based on the politics of a situation or what I'm reading in the papers.
We're seeing the new endorsements. Former President Obama endorsed you. Was that a big endorsement? Did you talk to him at all?
I have not spoken to him. You know, I appreciate his interest in the race, and you know, the way he presented it was, this is a really important race. Voters should be paying attention in Wisconsin and make sure they exercise their right to vote, and I do appreciate that.
As we look ahead to Tuesday, big surge in early voting. What do you need to do to win Tuesday night?
Well, we need a great turnout, so I'm really excited to hear that the early voting has been pretty robust throughout the state. I'm traveling all around the state, hitting as many communities as we can to continue to encourage early voting and election day voting for those who missed the deadline for the early vote. But you know, I just want to make sure that people understand what's at stake here and that they exercise their right to vote.
When we look at what's developed on all sides, Trump, Elon Musk, Supreme Court justices alongside you, what has this race turned into?
Well, I'm going to leave that to the political pundits to figure out after the election. I'm running because I believe that the Wisconsin Supreme Court should be interpreting our laws and our Constitution to protect Wisconsinites. That's what I've always tried to do throughout my entire career. I've always been about making sure that Wisconsin families and communities are safe and that our rights are upheld. So I'm focused on Wisconsinites. I'm not really paying a lot of attention or engaging in any analysis of what the race means on a national scale. I'll leave that to others to decide.
Schimmel entering the final leg of his bus tour this weekend. We joined him in Marquette County. What is your closing argument in these final moments?
My closing argument is that people need to take this race seriously. So much is at stake. We have to restore objectivity to this court right now. April 1st, we take advantage of this chance now. If we don't, the next chance we have is not till 3 years from now, in 2028. We have to restore objectivity to this court. We have to put the court back in its proper role, where it's not making the law, it's not going through a political agenda, it is applying the law the way the legislature writes it to the facts of the case.
You got the endorsement of President Trump, the endorsement of Elon Musk, all the money from Elon.
And Brett Favre.
And Brett Favre. I mean, what has this race become?
It's certainly bigger than me. If you told me 6 months ago this is going to be the #1 race in America in 2025, I would have said, you're crazy.
I mean, we've seen what has happened with Justice Hagedorn sometimes. Are you having voters come up to you and say, well, because Trump endorsed you, you need to uphold his agenda?
No, actually just the opposite.
Yeah.
I got in this race to restore that objectivity, to restore humility in the court, that they don't do things they're not supposed to do, and that's exactly what people want. When I spoke with President Trump Friday night, that's the same thing he said to me. Brad, I don't want you to be an activist, Judge. Are you going to make a commitment? You will not make the law from the bench. And I said, that's the whole reason I got in, Mr. President. That's why I'm in this race.
When he said activist judge, you think he meant liberal judge?
Well, generally the liberals are the activists, yeah.
Okay.
It's you know, people kind of don't get the difference between a political conservative versus a judicial conservative or liberal, judicial liberal versus political liberal. It's not the same thing. The political one is about policy issues. The judicial conservative versus liberal is about your approach to how you hear cases.
You mentioned the Trump call. Take me inside that. I mean, did you know it was him when the phone rang?
I was told you're going to get a phone call from a number you don't recognize. You need to answer it. Okay, I started having a feeling because we'd been kind of waiting on it. And then I answered the phone and he said, "Hello, Brad, it's your favorite president." And then we had a bit of a conversation and he talked about activist judges. He's very frustrated with them right now, as I think everybody knows. He put Elon Musk on for a little while. That was the first time I ever spoke with Elon Musk.
What do you think about him giving the $100, the $1 million to that Green Bay guy who signed that petition?
You know what? I learned about that from another reporter earlier today. I didn't know that happened. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what the criteria to get it was. I mean, I know with the $100 that he wanted to get people to sign a petition that they're against activist judges. I frankly thought about, should I sign that petition? I'm against activist judges, but I don't think I should do that.
You haven't signed it?
I have not.
Okay.
I didn't get my $100.
On Tuesday night, when you're watching results, we're seeing the early voting numbers, red counties, blue counties, early voting is up. I mean, how do you win on Tuesday night?
It's a turnout race, right? It's going back to November 5th and getting conservative voters for November 5th to understand why this is important. If we get 60% of the people who voted for President Trump to come out April 1st and vote for me, in all likelihood, that means I win.
If you missed it, the candidates in their only debate right here. You can watch the full hour-long Supreme Court debate right now on the WISN 12 YouTube page. Coming up, Wisconsin in the national spotlight again, plus that new executive order from President Trump. Wisconsin's elections chief, Megan Wolf, with us next.